So we're very excited. I hope you guys are also excited.
Yeah.
Hopefully everything is ready. You have your admission letter, and now you're just waiting to come to
Yeah.
Utrecht. First, like a very short introduction, I work for the international marketing and recruitment team. I used to be a student here too.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Argentina, so technically both of us were kind of like giving like an international
Yeah.
experience.
Exactly.
I studied law and economics, and then I started working at the university.
Yeah.
So what did you study?
Yeah, so I'm basically now, you could say that I'm an alumni for the Utrecht University. I just graduated recently from the Game and Media Technology Masters here, and I originally come from India, from the north, Punjab. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that. And yeah, so I came here, I think about 2 years ago, and yeah, I was looking for masters and in games, and I think Utrecht here was a really interesting option to explore. So, which is why I came here, and now I'm currently in the process of looking for jobs since I've completed my masters, and hopefully, continue staying
Yeah.
here or somewhere in Europe at least.
Yes, indeed. Let's hope so. So here in this webinar, we're gonna try to give you all the information that we can. It might be a bit too much information, but you can never have too much of that when you're coming to a different country,
Yeah.
different culture. So over here, you can see some of the topics that we will cover. Again, I apologize if this is going to be a long presentation, but we rather just give you as much information as possible.
Yeah.
Basically, we're trying to do it from the perspective of all the things that we would have liked to know
Exactly.
before
Yeah,
we came.
Exactly.
So we're gonna cover it basically in four different times before you leave your country, coming to the Netherlands upon arrival, and the student life, like the fun part. So first, we're gonna start with the whole administration part. That's kind of like the before you leave type of thing you need to arrange.
I think the most scary part especially for internationals.
Exactly, and especially coming from non-European countries, so the process is a bit more difficult or has more administrative.
Extensive.
Yeah, exactly. So here are some the basic steps when it comes to your visa residence permit procedure. We are very positive that you already know this information from the visa office or admissions office. So we're just going to quickly browse through the steps so that you don't forget, but different things might apply according to different nationalities.
Yeah.
So do check, please, the fact sheet. There's going to be a fact sheet that has all the information. So the first step is, of course, to accept the offer from Utrecht University. And then what you need to do is check the visa and residence permit information fact sheet that we mentioned. It could be, I think they're going to send it through email. Probably you already have it via email, or it will soon be available on the website. One of the two options. And the next step that it's kind of like a big deal, it's kind of important, is to pay the invoice before the deadline, because we cannot process your visa application without the payment of the tuition fee. So it's an integral part of the process.
Yeah, because they have a time limit by when you have to submit a visa application, so that by the time you arrive here, it's all done, so that there's no discrepancies.
Exactly.
That can delay your arrival.
Exactly. Another thing you should have is, of course, make a copy of your passport. Do make sure that your passport is valid at least 6 months after you start the program. So check if your passport is like going to expire within a year, like maybe just do it like
just renew it for safekeeping.
Exactly. That happened to me actually. But it happened like after a year. I was here, I think more than 6 months, 8 months here, and then it was kind of scary to do the whole process, because I was like, what do I do now? And but then
And basically, I think pretty much takes care of it.
Takes care of it. It's quite easy, but it's scary when you're here and you don't know how to do. The next step is to prove you have the financial means to study in the Netherlands. That's part of the process. You need to prove it through a bank statement and stuff like that.
If you have a sponsor, like if your parents are paying, or if you have another scholarship or sponsor,
exactly.
So just declare that.
Yeah. But then again, this is just a quick checkup all this information you will have already.
Yeah.
What you also need to do is fill out necessary application forms. We say application forms because this webinar might be viewed by different people from different nationalities.
Yeah.
So different forms might apply. So that's why we're keeping it a bit open.
Yeah.
So please check according to your nationality which forms you need to fill out. Another important big step is to have a health insurance.
Yes.
So that's part of your process. And we usually recommend to have AON Complete Plus. That's one of our the health insurance companies that we cooperate with.
Yeah, it's very good. In my opinion, they cover a lot of different things as well.
Yeah.
The Complete Plus is a good package to have, I think.
Yeah, that's like kind of like the minimum package you need to have when you're a student here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Do you remember something from your residence, your visa process that you?
I think so. At least in India, it was. I think it wasn't that difficult. I mean, you have a very small embassy for the Netherlands in New Delhi, and then you just go there. And I think the university itself just does so much for you that all you need to do is just submit your documents, and it's pretty simple. And just give you the deadline. Okay, make an appointment, submit the documents, and then okay, make an appointment, collect your residence permit, and then I think that was pretty much it. And I think the visa team is kind of focusing on making it even more easier. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be more easier, but it's definitely better.
Yeah.
It was quite easy, I think.
I think in the next slide is kind of like the things that might change or might be easier, hopefully.
Yeah.
So the next step is, of course, to complete your digital visa application. And you do this through you probably are familiar with Osiris online application. So what you do here is you complete your digital visa procedure to Osiris. So you send it to us, to the university. So you're not going to send it to the IND, which is the immigration office from the Netherlands. So don't worry, this is kind of like a preparatory step.
Yeah.
We just make sure that all of your documents are in order. And then we will send your documents to the immigration office. You need to send your original documents to the international office before the deadline. The deadlines that are set in the slide below. And if you need an entry visa, the visa office will email you when you can make an appointment with the Dutch embassy in your country to submit your biometric data and to collect the visa when it's ready. But again, this also depends on your nationality. So you might or might not need an entry visa. A residence permit. So there are two deadlines that you can see there. June 15, that's the deadline to complete the visa procedure, including the payment of the tuition fee. And then we have July 1st, which is the deadline if you have a passport from Australia, Canada, Japan, Monaco, New Zealand, South Korea, USA, or Vatican City State, because these countries only require a residence permit, not a visa. I think that this is pretty much it when it comes to visa procedure. You probably know way more than we're telling you by now. And usually, hopefully. But also, if you have any questions, you can always email the visa office, and they'll be pretty quick in replying.
Yeah, that's true.
So kind of like you're not alone in this process. Like the university is with you for every step.
Yeah.
Okay, we're trying to change the slide. So. Here. So again, we're going to mention the health insurance for non-EU students. If you're going to be a full-time student and you're not going to take up a job while you're studying, AON Complete Plus will be the perfect health insurance. It covers, I think it's a yearly contract that you have with them. You need to renew it later on. But if you take up a job while studying, you need to switch your health insurance because you're basically, I think the rule is when you start paying taxes in the Netherlands, when you pay taxes, then I need to change to a Dutch health insurance. So it's usually quite easy. it's quite a easy fix in a way.
Yeah.
You can just call your insurance and say, hey, listen, I'm going to take up a job. It's from this date, so I need to have a Dutch basic health insurance. Is basisverzekering.
Yeah.
My Dutch, moi, but that's the type of coverage that you need. So it's quite easy.
Yeah.
But there are some limitations for non-EU students when it comes to working, mainly in two reasons. The reason is because you're coming with a student visa.
Yeah.
So technically, your main reason to be here is to study. But of course, there are some possibilities for you to work. You can take up a job for 16 hours a week.
Yeah.
Or you can work full-time during the months of the summer months. I think it's difficult for me because I come from the other hemisphere, so still for me it's difficult.
It's true. Yeah.
But usually it's just June, July, August, or the summer months here. Yeah. You can work full-time there, all together basically, or you work until 16 hours per week.
Yeah.
Another thing that another requirement for non-EU students to work here is work permit.
Yeah.
The work permit is something that it's not dealt with by you. It's something that your employer will do for you. Yeah. So it can take up 4 weeks, 4 to 6
weeks. Yeah.
So also take into account that. But yeah, it's not impossible, but it's a bit more complicated. It's a bit more like another system.
Yeah, and it's the work permit is free to apply for, so it's not like the employer has to pay or anything like that. It just takes time. So if you do get a job, as a part-time, you should recommend your employer to do, because a lot of employers actually are not familiar with this, and then because you cannot work until you get that work permit, even though you're allowed, because it can cause issues with your residence if you don't have that work permit. Yeah. So just make sure to recommend your employer, if you get a job, to apply that for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's very important. And also to switch from health insurance, because this is the health insurance, changing the health insurance, it's a responsibility from each person.
Yeah.
The employer is not going to tell you,
yeah,
change health insurance.
Exactly.
It's your responsibility. So it could be that some students, what happened to them is that they didn't switch, and they might get like a little letter notification from the Dutch health insurance, I guess it's the Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
And they tell you, hey, you didn't switch.
Yeah.
If you don't switch in 30 days, you will get a fine.
Yeah.
This happens with a lot of students, actually. Like from EU students happens quite often.
Yeah.
And they get very scared because it's your own responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can. There's this website. There's this. I think it's called Insure to Study, which is really convenient for students, especially. They really help you get like the basic insurance, and they also even have their own student health insurance, which can cover apart from Aon, of course. So there are also other insurances that you can take, but Insure to Study also can help you navigate between your Dutch basic insurance or the normal student insurance as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's also a lot of information in our website, so you can also check it or contact us if you have any questions about it. Again, this is a bit of like the same what we were saying. You do need a work permit if you want to work. A number of hours per week is 16 hours per week, or full-time in the summer months, June, July, August, and you require a Dutch health insurance.
Yes.
And you're not qualified as a non-EU student for a Dutch student loan qualification.
Yeah.
So that's something, because sometimes students hear, oh, but I heard about a loan.
Yeah.
That's not applicable.
Uh-huh.
What could be applicable if you have a Dutch health insurance is you can have a sort of subsidy from the Dutch government that can help you pay almost 90% of your health insurance.
Yeah.
Why would the government do this? Well, it's because the switch from a student health insurance to a Dutch health insurance, it's basically quite a lot of money.
Exactly.
I think a normal health insurance now in the Netherlands, basic, it's 120 euros per month, something like that. So of course, if you're just a student and have a part-time job, you're like not like part of your salary, like
It's
big
just
part
gone,
of it
yeah.
just gone
The
just for health
insurance,
insurance.
yeah.
So that if you can apply for a subsidy from the government, the Dutch government,
Yeah.
you can pay for it. And yes, well,
Yeah.
we went from administration to another type of sort
Yeah.
of administration and
Yeah.
process that is quite difficult. And it's
quite important.
very important is the housing market. Probably, hopefully, you've heard about this already.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna again just go quickly through it and maybe give our experiences from it. So the good news is that around 20% of Utrecht's population are students, but that also means that there's a very high demand for housing.
Yeah.
And each year we have more and more internationals and also Dutch students, by the way, which is not only, that's also important to say, this is not that housing is difficult for internationals. This is just,
even for Dutch,
for Dutch students, it's really difficult to get a house too. So it's kind of a student problem, if you will.
There are a lot of families that are already staying here in their own houses, so it's very difficult to find accommodation for students, especially because they have a different requirement, for students. And some landlords are not very optimistic about hiring, getting students, and they prefer long-term,
which you understand. Sometimes the students are not the most careful.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so for some of our tips, we're going to say this again, probably in a couple of different ways. Yeah. Do not underestimate how difficult it is to get a house, and also the time. I think that's the most important thing, is the time. Don't underestimate the time it's going to take you to get a house.
Exactly.
You can read up all the important housing information on our website. If you do www, does anyone still do that? I don't know. .housing. .uu.nl/housing. You can directly go to our website. There's a lot of information of housing.
Yeah, but it's pretty elaborate.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So you can read up there. We already had, I think it was in April, we had our webinar for housing. So we had a completely separate webinar for housing that we cover all of the processes of finding a house here. So you can also check that in our website. You can also go through it. And one of the things that you probably already know about is SSH. That's something that you probably heard at this point. That's the housing corporation that the university collaborates with, because it's not very common for Dutch universities to provide housing. It's actually something that you have to handle on your own.
Yeah.
But we do cooperate. We have certain contracts with housing providers, and they have some rooms available for us.
We keep separately for students.
For international students. Yeah. And we recommend to sign up for SSH regular accommodation. Basically means to sign up, and you have some waiting time that usually helps you when it comes to getting a room. The reserved accommodation usually opens up around May.
Okay.
And usually the day that it's open, it's like gone.
Done. Yeah.
In like half an hour. So probably that's why the slide says the reserved one is fully booked already, because that's probably going to happen on the same day.
If you get lucky, you can definitely try it, but it's very difficult
to get a house through there.
Yeah.
It also depends on your how much time you're gonna come to Utrecht. If you're an exchange student that it's only coming for 6 months, then maybe signing up for SSH is not the best option.
Yeah, that makes sense as well.
So if you're gonna stay here for 3 years, if you're doing a bachelor's, okay, then you can do it, and then maybe you won't get it on your first year, but maybe on the second year you already have enough antiquity in the system to get a room. What else? Another thing that we recommend is to broaden your search and look outside Utrecht.
Yeah.
In the next slide, we'll show you a bit of a map of Utrecht. And do not limit yourself to one search method, because some people say, oh, but I already signed up for SSH and that's enough. Now you need to cover all your bases. Now put all your eggs in the same basket, I would say. And one of the things that we recommend, if possible, is to consider arriving before the start of the semester, maybe like a week before already could help you. Because you can, once you're here, searching is different.
Exactly.
You can visit, you can talk to people.
Yeah.
And here we will see a bit of a map. So yeah, I mean, India versus the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Like India,
Yeah.
where am I? Here.
Yeah.
India, Netherlands. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are aware of how big your country is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then when you're here in the Netherlands, you're like, okay, but maybe you identify having different cities with being completely far apart. But in the Netherlands, it's actually quite common to have another city within maybe, I don't know, 15 kilometers from each other.
Yeah, exactly.
That already is a new city.
Yeah.
So you could see here, I don't know, De Beeld, Zeist, Bunnik, Houten, Nieuwegein, Maarsen. These are all small towns. I wouldn't call them cities. Like small towns that are very near Utrecht.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, for me it's easier to explain to internationals rather than Dutch people, because they're used to the traveling distances that they're used to.
Yeah.
So maybe for them, telling them, oh, you need to travel 20, 30 minutes is like, oh, it's like too much.
Yeah.
But if you're coming from a big country, maybe you think, oh, I'm used to like traveling 1 hour, and that's just to get from the city center to like the metropolitan area, and then I need to go to somewhere else. So yeah, it's all about perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's very common for students to live in different of these cities.
Yeah.
You're probably not gonna live in the canal streets that you see. It's like impossible. Like guys, it's impossible to do that. I mean, unless you have like loads of money, and then it's virtually impossible. Have you lived in any of these cities?
No, I actually got lucky, and I got three of my housing in Utrecht itself.
Oh, that's lucky.
Yeah.
I
initially I did look around a bit. I think when I was looking for my third place, but it was again distance, and then I was a bit more comfortable with Utrecht as well. So I did try to look into Nieuwegein and Zeist as well. But again, then the prices, and there were so many factors to consider. I did go to these places, but in the end, I was comfortable with Utrecht as a preference.
Yeah, it all depends on where your classes are.
Yeah.
So if you're staying in like the science park, Zeist is not a bad option, or De Beeld is not a bad option.
Yeah, Zeist and De Beeld are very famous. And a lot of students.
So if your classes are in the science park, maybe it's not that big of a deal in a way. It's like kind of like different screenshots of different housing providers that you can get. I think the most common one is Kamernet. Kamer is the word for room in Dutch. So it's kind of like a first good word to learn is Kamer. I think we have there Housing Anywhere and Huurwoningen Utrecht. Holland to Stay. These are all just providers, and what you usually do is that when you go into their website, you can see all the options, all the things on offer. But when you actually want to contact the owner, you're like, you need to pay. So you need to usually pay a subscription, a monthly subscription. I think maybe, I don't know how much my time it was 20, but I don't know, could be 30 now.
It depends actually. There are different packages, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I think based on how long you want to have your subscription.
Yeah.
Because I think there are just two, in my experience, housing sites that actually ask you to pay only once. I think one is SSH and one is Holland to Stay. You only pay once for the subscription, and then you can keep checking houses every day or every week. But all the other sites, you have to pay monthly.
Exactly.
So I mean, these two are, you could say, that your top priorities. And then you can also look into this. And then, of course, Facebook or other places as well.
Yeah, exactly. So please make sure to check what are the conditions that you are signing up when you pay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because actually, no, it was even cheaper when I was a student. I think it was like 10 euros. So that's why maybe you don't really notice it when 10 euros are being deducted from your account. But then you have to remember to switch out from, because they're going to keep on
unsubscribe.
Yeah, unsubscribe, because if not, they're going to keep on
charging you.
Yeah, charging you. So yeah, I got mine through Kamernet, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I was living in a completely different city. I was living in Haarlem.
Oh, Haarlem. Oh, that's like
yeah, completely. Because I didn't know. I mean, it's 40 minutes with the train. It's very easy to connect. For me, it wasn't an issue. I didn't know. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I was just living somewhere else. Yeah, whatever. So these are some of the providers that we mentioned, some of them. So yeah, you could just start with these. Facebook, of course, is one of the most common ones for students. But like, of course, Facebook, everybody has Facebook, so like it's a huge demand. So
exactly.
It's kind of difficult.
If you have a post of a house, you have replies within 10 seconds.
10 seconds, you already have that 10, not even replies, but people tagging each other. And
it's like, okay, PM, sent, and so within 10 seconds.
10 seconds,
you're like, the post is full.
Exactly.
So you have to be really proactive, especially on Facebook. Other places you can still be, a bit more flexible there.
Yeah. Exactly. Another thing that maybe it's important to mention is that because there's a huge demand, unfortunately, there are also bad experiences because there's like a lot of bad, not like false offers, or it's a lot of scamming, bad landlords. And this always will happen when there's a lot of demand on anything. So we in our housing page that I mentioned, you can also have all the things that you need to consider. That you need to, if something like looks too good to be true, it's probably not. So if like one of like red flags, especially because if you're a bachelor student, you've never lived on your own, and you come here and you think, oh, this is the system. Never wire money in advance, for example. Definitely. If someone asks you to pay 3 months in advance, don't do it, because it's probably not a good sign. Or if you're doubting about something, you can always contact us. There's also housing officers that are just here for you. Also to review contracts, because sometimes the landlords, that's what happened to me. The landlord had no problem that I didn't speak Dutch, but the contract was drafted in Dutch. So a good thing. Well, I knew people here that could help me with the translation, so I knew what I was signing. But if you don't have anyone, you can always contact the housing officer. Exactly. That can help you if there's something weird, or usually it's just a very normal contract. But it's never bad to check.
Because legally, your contracts, only Dutch contracts, are valid. I mean, you can obviously ask your landlord for an English contract as well, if you have a personal landlord. But normally, the websites, they like SSH or Holland Estate, they give you an English translation with itself. They make it easier for you to understand it as well.
Exactly. So this is the website that we've been talking about, the uu.nl. There are two sites actually, the Welcome to Utrecht one, the /Welcome to Utrecht. And you can check for arrange housing, and you can check all the information, which is exactly the same information that it's on the master site or the bachelor site. So it's all the same information, they're all connected. So you can search for everything there, housing providers, the reservation dates, the booking instructions, all of that. But how did you find your house? I don't know if you...
So I've had 3 houses till now. So my first one, I got it through SSH. I was lucky because I actually came in the February intake. So there were houses available then, luckily. So it was a bit expensive for me, but it was a private studio. But I needed a house, so that's what I booked immediately. And the next day, all of them were gone. So I was lucky in that sense. And then my second house, I got lucky again because I made a friend here who was on exchange for 6 months. So he had a landlord agreement in a private house. So he said that I'm gonna leave, and I was like, perfect, my contract expiring, so I'm just gonna stay here. And then I lived there for about a year and a half. I got because it was so difficult, and plus I didn't want to look for another house as well. And then I started looking, I think about 6 to 8 months back. And after that, currently I got a house through Holland to Stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Holland to Stay is a luck-based thing because they do a lottery system. So you apply for one house, and every week they refresh them. So if you're lucky, you get selected. So I mean, initially, first I got an email saying, "Oh, sorry, you have not been selected," and then the next day I got a confirmation saying, "Oh, you've been selected." Yeah, so I was like, "Oh well."
You win the lottery.
Yeah.
You won the lottery.
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically a lottery system.
Yeah. So for the SSH, now that you mentioned it, made me remind of the system. It's kind of like booking tickets for concerts.
Yeah.
You need to refresh the page constantly. And it's like book, and you're clicking. So yeah, it's kind of stressful, but that's why we say don't only focus on that, just keep your options open.
Exactly.
So some of our tips and tricks, of course, start looking as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Use your network, Facebook, and search for room, accommodation, housing, Kamer. I think the biggest group is international students in Utrecht, something like that. Utrecht International Students. That has like 10,000 members.
Yeah.
That's the most common one.
Yeah,
I think I'm still part of it
too.
too.
3-4 groups. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you never really leave because you just see a lot of stuff going on. Check other websites, Kamernet, Housing Holland to Stay, all of the ones that we have in the slides.
I think they're all mentioned on the university website as well, so you can have a look through
it. This is an important thing. Maybe you don't really, because I don't know, like in Argentina, you don't really, like for me, it wasn't common for me to search for temporary housing. For me, it was usually you stay there for 1 or 2 years. So a common thing here is that students actually move quite a lot. It's not uncommon to move 2, 3, 4 times, 5 times in your bachelor or during your master. 1 year I moved 2 times. I was lucky also in that sense. But yeah, it's also quite common because usually you get these exchange students that go. So when you have, I have a house for 6 months, and then you start meeting people and talking to your classmates, and they know a friend of a friend of a friend.
Exactly.
That's how I got my room, because a friend of a friend was leaving, and then I got a room. So use your network when you're here, and try to get a house, even if it's for 4 months or the first 6 months. It's already a good start. So don't get don't be upset or frustrated because you don't get a year contract right away. It's rare. I mean, it happens, but it's a bit rare. So
even most landlords go for like 6 months. They just prefer that because for the students. Luckily, my landlord didn't have any problems with me, so he extended it further. But again, it depends on.
I guess it's a trust issue.
Exactly.
With the landlord.
He had some problems with students before, so he's just started doing 6-month contracts.
I understand. I've been to some student houses. They're like, whoa.
Some student housings are
rough. So another thing, look for accommodation in the surrounding towns, as we mentioned in the map. Hospiteren. That's something that is a very Dutch thing. Have you been through one of these?
Not personally. I mean, I didn't really even know that there was something like this before.
Me neither. I think I've been to one too, but I wasn't aware that I was in it when I was in it. So Hospiteren is a Dutch thing. That it's Hospiteren Avon is usually you see a room available. And then you're like, oh, that's great. I'm interested. And then the person gets back to you and says, oh, great. You can come and visit the room on Wednesday at 5. Okay, fine. And then you go there, and 2 things could happen. You could walk in and you're alone, or you could arrive there and see other 5 people or 10 people in the room. And you're like, what's going on? And because all of these people have applied to the room, and what you go through is kind of like an informal how do you
Get to
say?
know, like,
Yeah, informal get to know, and it's like sort of like an informal interview that you have with your future housemates. So it's actually pretty practical.
Yeah.
So don't take it personally. That's one of the things which is hard, because I don't know how Indian students are, but Latin Americans take everything very personally.
Yeah.
So if someone doesn't take you, then you're like, oh, it was me. They didn't like me because this and that.
Yeah.
It's just not it. It's just not it at all. They're just very practical, and they just view it
straightforward.
Very straightforward. Like, would you be comfortable living here? Do you match with the personalities of the people? And just view it as a two-way thing, because you can also, after the interview, you'll realize, maybe I don't want to live with these people too. So it's kind of like you use it in both ways, in a way. So if you maybe you might hear this word, or you might not, and you might not be aware that this happened. But if it does happen and you don't get invited, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. You have a lot of options.
Yeah. But that's why we say it's important to be here, because when you're present here, you will be able to attend to these sort of like informal meetings. So you have more chances. Yeah. I've also heard students getting a house through Skype meetings. But I think the most efficient and most common way to get a house is just to be here and just go through the meeting. Don't be maybe too picky at the beginning. As we said, you might not get the perfect contract of a year that you expect. But don't, if it's a room, if it looks quite okay and it suits your needs, and it's relatively near, you can cycle, I think it's a good enough.
I think that's good enough in my opinion.
You're gonna be in the library most of the time anyway, so you just need a place to sleep, basically.
That's true.
That's the other thing. I mean, a lot of classes, a lot of studying.
Exactly.
So
there are two libraries that Utrecht has.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can go in either one.
Exactly. And once you're here, you just need to get moving. Go to the supermarket. Usually at the supermarkets, when you enter, or maybe when you exit, there's like kind of like a, what do you call that, prikbord? They say in Dutch. Yeah. The things where you post ads.
Yeah, pinboard.
Pinboard, yeah. Sometimes you just do that. You just adopt Dutch words and you just drop them in an English conversation. You're like, oh, that's not English. And then you can see some offers for houses or stuff like that. And ask around, use your network, tell your friends, make a Dutch friend.
Yeah.
That's very, very good. That's very important. So like friendship, international friendship, we really support that.
Yeah, definitely.
Very important. There's also some discounts for UU students at the Stay OK hostel. If you arrive and maybe the room is not available for a week or something like that, you can just stay in the hostel with a discount. There's a discount all year round. I think it's 10% discount.
Okay.
And again with SSH, if it's fully booked, you can maybe just register anyway. You just pay it once, and you're there and you collect antiquity.
Then they basically send you an email that, we found a house for you, and then you can say, okay, I want it or I don't want it.
Exactly. Well, now you're already like, you have your visa ready, you're everything. You're looking for a house, you're everything. So now you're actually coming to the Netherlands. You're in the plane and you land here. So first you're going to arrive to Schiphol Airport. If you manage to go through Schiphol Airport and don't get lost, you are a winner already. Because it's just huge and it's super busy. And it's kind of daunting the first time you arrive to Schiphol.
We have signs everywhere.
There's signs everywhere. You just need to be calm and just follow the signs. And also you could just ask around. They're pretty friendly. So the good thing about the airport is that you might not be aware of that, but the station is right underneath the airport. So you don't need to get out. You just need to go find usually a stairs down, and then you go to the trains. So coming from the airport to Utrecht, it's 27 minutes, I think. 30 minutes.
30, 34 minutes.
Yeah, there's
depends on the train.
Depends on the train. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. There's 4 per hour, and I really don't think there are like night flights that you will arrive very late in the night. But if you do, just make sure to know that between 12:30 and 5 a.m. there are no more trains.
There are night trains.
Yeah, there are night trains, 1 per hour.
Yeah.
Like in a way that they're not a lot. So you might have to wait an hour for a train. That's the only thing. And also buses. Usually, I think this is a Dutch thing. Usually, buses after 12 they stop.
Yeah.
And then they start again around 5 or 6 in the morning.
6, I think it's 6. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It costs around €8.80. The price. You can always check this online.
I think it's 9.20.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, inflation.
Yeah, they increased it by, this was recently, everything by 50 cents. I just saw that, so it's 9.20 now. And you will have to pay 10.20 because you need to pay €1 for the ticket, then 9.20 for the journey.
Look at that. I didn't know that. That's good to know. There is also another airport called Eindhoven Airport. Usually this is more for European flights, I think.
Yeah.
But it is an option. Usually it is an option for students because it's a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But usually it's because it's a bit further away. So it's 1 hour and 20 minutes. You need to take a bus and then you need to take a train. So the ticket might be cheaper, but then again, you have to like weigh in. You're coming with suitcases and a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so it might be a bit difficult.
If you just, exactly. So maybe, and again, the same rules applies with the frequency. After 12:30, usually it's a bit difficult. So yeah, you just weigh in your options, but it's good to know that there's another airport too. Another thing that is going to happen, ESN is a student organization. It's the Erasmus student organization. It's for international students, for all international students. So not only for Erasmus, that's what the name is a bit confusing.
Yeah.
But each year they do a pickup service. They will be present, they will be at the station in Utrecht and they will be in the airport. And they try to be there when most of the students arrive. So it's usually last days of August. They're going to be there. They're going to be wearing orange t-shirts.
Yeah.
And you will see them and you know that you could just go to them and ask them. Because sometimes maybe this is one of the things that actually could happen to you is that maybe you don't have a phone. Because either you don't have battery or the internet is not working or something like that. And then you have no way to check anything, so you could just always go to them and ask. They can help you with buying a ticket and show you on your way. And I think they also like arrange like buses to go to the student houses.
Yeah.
So that's also also nice.
Yeah.
Did you use the ESN pickup?
No, actually no, because my dad my parents stay in Switzerland, so my dad actually came when I was coming from India. So we met in France, and then from France we went to Amsterdam.
With the train. That's another thing. Well, you can also come to Utrecht by train from France, UK.
I think it's 8 hours by train.
Yeah. It's quite okay. Yeah. From Germany, Belgium, of course, it's pretty good located, so it's easy. I remember the first time I arrived in the Netherlands and I had to deal with these weird-looking yellow machines. This is basically the way to buy a ticket. Usually, it's the first way to buy a ticket when you don't have a card. You can put it in English, so all the instructions will be in English. Yeah. One of the things is that you buy a ticket and it's like a cardboard sort of ticket.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you actually needed to also put that in the machine to check in and check out. Yeah. I thought that just having the ticket was enough.
Exactly.
But I ended up knowing, I thought it's just paper. But actually, if you put it next to the machine, it will beep in and beep out. And that's the only way to validate your ticket. Yeah. There are usually checks in the trains.
Yeah.
Um,
You can get lucky sometimes.
yeah, sometimes you can get lucky, or you can get unlucky. It really depends on the conductor's mood.
Yeah.
If they're usually okay. They usually know when you're doing it on purpose and when you're doing it like because you didn't know. Because if you show like, oh, I bought it, and I didn't know I had to do it, they're usually quite okay. Or if not, I've seen people getting fines.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. I've seen usually it's Dutch people that they're like, I didn't know or something like that. But they just pay the fine and it's okay. One of the things, if you want to, this is a bit difficult if you want to buy a ticket in advance, so you do it through the website. It might be difficult because you need a Dutch bank account. It says something like ideaal. You will get to know that word once you start living here, but that's only a payment system that you can do with a Dutch bank account. Yeah. So it's hard for you to buy the ticket in advance, or you can just ask a friend. Probably if you know someone from here, you can do that for you. But it's just better if you're just here. It doesn't cost you much time. Also, there are counters, usually at the big stations. There are counters with actual people, and you can ask them, and you can buy the ticket physically there.
You can definitely find them at Schiphol and at Utrecht.
Yeah, definitely. The smaller, tiny beat stations, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think they have a counter.
No. They have machines.
The machines are everywhere, but not the people.
Yeah.
And I think there's another slide about this public transport. There are two types of cards in the Netherlands. It's quite handy because they only have one card for all means of transportation.
Yeah.
So buses, trains, trams, ferries, everything, you do it with that card. And there are two types of cards. One of it is blue and the other one is yellow. The blue one is an anonymous card that you usually use for, I think all students have one, at least one when they just arrive.
Yeah.
And you usually, when you come, you have friends visiting or stuff like that, you can give that to them.
Yeah.
It's an anonymous card, so you only need to just put some money into it with the machines from the previous slides.
Yeah.
You just put you put the card on, and it will tell you how much money it is, and then it's like, okay, I'll charge more. And then you just put the card there, and you usually need at least 20 euros.
Yeah, to travel for train.
For train. Yeah. If you're going to use the train, you need at least 20 euros.
Yeah.
And then when you check in and you check out, it will deduct the price of the
journey.
The journey, yeah. And then there's other types of cards that it's the yellow card that are personal cards. Those cards, because they're personal, you can put certain subscriptions into it. Yeah. But the only catch with that is that you actually need a Dutch bank account to link it to the card. So there are different types of packages that you can get.
Yeah.
It really depends on first you need to think on your situation. Yeah. Exactly. It's not like, oh, I'll get a package just because there's a package. First you need to think, am I really going to use the train that much? Because usually when you're here, we have expectations versus reality. You have the expectations like, oh, I'm going to go to Amsterdam every weekend. I'm going to go to Rotterdam. I'm going to... And then when you're here...
And you see the ticket prices.
You see the ticket prices, you're like, maybe I'll just hang around. And I'll just like... I'll just cycle around. And that's just something that happens. You might go to these cities maybe once a month.
Yeah.
If you're really like super enthusiastic about it. Yeah. So maybe it won't be a good idea for you to get a package.
Yeah.
It also depends on where you live, because probably you're gonna bike from your house to the university. So you don't really need a package.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it depends.
And with the personal card, it also helps because if you don't have enough balance, it automatically deducts it from your account, so you don't have to keep recharging it personally, like the blue.
The blue one. That's a bad thing. You might not notice when it's op. It's in Dutch. It's op. It's no more. Like there's no more. And that app 9292. It's actually a very good app to have. It's, I think, even more accurate than Google Maps. You just put the location that you're in. Usually just do the my location right now. It's like a GPS thing. and then you put the address that you want to go anywhere in the Netherlands, and it will tell you everything. It will even calculate how much it takes you to walk there, take everything, prices, everything. There's also an app from NS. NS is the public Dutch railway company.
It's private.
But it's private, yeah. But actually, it's quite okay. I think for trains, I think it's pretty handy. So, you know, one of the things that happen a lot here is that they do a lot of work on the tracks. So that might be useful to have, so you know in advance, okay, it's going to take a bit longer. They usually build routes around it, but it's just, it takes a bit longer. So it's good to have those two apps, must-have apps. This is one of my proudest moments since I worked at the universities, to have these slides here. You're welcome. The trains in the Netherlands, there are two types of trains. I didn't know what's the difference between an Intercity and a Sprinter, because I just thought, well, first of all, I thought Sprinter was fast. Because, you know, it's a Sprinter. It's like a running. But no. The Intercity connects the main cities of the Netherlands. So it's usually faster, but it just doesn't stop in the in-between little cities. And the Sprinter actually sprints from the little villages. So could be that you're going to have in the same platform, and that's why it's tricky. And you're running probably to catch the train, and they both say, I don't know, Rotterdam, if you want to go to Rotterdam. And you just hop in a train. And then you realize you're in a Sprinter, and it will take sometimes double the time. It's ridiculous, like the amount of time. The things that maybe one of the things that I would recommend is, like, well, don't be Latin American about it and be on time. So one of the things that you learn to do in the Netherlands is to be on time to places. So then you can check, oh wait, this is the Intercity, this is the Sprinter. I'm not gonna mess this up. Usually the Intercities are bigger trains. They're like two floors? Because I've been asked that also. Like, oh, but didn't you notice it was 2 floors? I'm like, I don't know, I just sat down. I didn't really notice. So those are some of the things you might see. But the usual way to get around is, of course, through a bicycle.
The most common way
is to use your bicycle. You can buy or rent one. There's something called swap feeds. I don't know if you've seen them around. I think a lot of student cities in the Netherlands have them. Swap, it's just swap is just changing bikes. That's what basically the translation is. You pay, I think, I don't know, around 10 euros per month or something like that, and you get a brand new bike. It's pretty nice, beautiful bike, and you pay that per month. The good thing about that system is that whenever it gets broken, you just swap it, you change it for a new bike, and that's why you don't really have any extra cost in it. The bad thing about that system is that they all look the same. So you really need to remember where you parked it and which lock do you have, because they all look the same.
I think that they're also the ones that are most stolen. But it's just, they're everywhere. So I don't know, it depends on what you would like. I don't know. It depends also on how much time you're going to stay in the Netherlands. A good, honest bike costs around 50 euros, 100 to 100 euros for a second-hand bicycle. Usually get those through the Facebook groups, usually from students leaving. You can also buy or rent a bike during the orientation day. One of the things when you're buying a bike, I didn't notice, because I thought just a bike is a bike. Check the height of the bicycle, because of course in the Netherlands, like, the average height is 180. 180 average. Average. So of course their bicycles are huge. So I'm 160. You cannot see because I'm sitting down. But I can't really bike in those things. So you need to just put that into account when you're looking for a bike. There's also there it says Marktplaats.
That's a really good website.
Yeah.
It's like a Dutch eBay.
Yeah.
You
It's
can
true.
buy. I got books there too, like for my study.
Yeah.
I got books. You can get also like maybe some furniture. Yeah, and a bicycle. I
Yeah.
I
A lot
still
of secondhand stuff.
a lot of,
Yeah.
and then they're very careful here with their secondhand stuff. They're actually sometimes they're quite new.
Yeah.
Even clothing you can get there.
Yeah.
So it's a really good website to just browse around. It's always fun. And also we advise to have at least 2 locks, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe one. Sometimes there's like a joke going on that like the lock should be more expensive than the bike,
Yeah.
because sometimes it will. Usually a good lock will be over 20 euros.
Yeah.
So it could be that it's more expensive than your bike, but yeah.
Yeah. Also, if your bike it doesn't look very good, that also helps.
That also helps. Also, another thing, yeah, the Netherlands is a very safe country, but not for bicycles.
Yeah.
And it's also not very common to get a brand new bike.
Yeah.
That's also a weird thing, because I thought, you just get a bike, but you don't get new bikes. You really don't want a new bike. You want one that squeaks when you're like cycling. The more sound it makes, like the more powerful you feel, dignified by your bike, that it's falling apart, that you feel part of. I'm part of the Dutch society now. I have a squeaking bike. And yes, upon arrival, so we're almost we're here already. All the things that we need to consider. Join the orientation day. It's going to be, I think, 2 days during the 29th and 30th of August. There's going to be a general introduction day from the university, and then there's going to be different smaller introductions for your faculty, for your studies. Usually it's the first week of September that this happens. This is very, I think it's a very important and nice day.
Yeah, definitely.
There you have not only for the social aspect, but also because there's going to be all of the sports associations are going to be there. All of the student associations are there.
Yeah.
Some banks are there. I think ABN AMRO was present last time, and I think another bank. So those are things that are going to be sent to you, and you will know. Health insurances, basically everything.
Yeah.
I think there's transport. Also transport cards, something like that you can get. There's different workshops that you can do. So how living in Utrecht, learning Dutch, all these things. Yeah. And you can also buy or rent a bike also there. Did you go to the orientation day?
Yeah, definitely. That's I had a great time. I also met a few people who are now my really good friends, even though we're not in the same course or anything. But I think it was a really fun experience. You get to see a lot of, different international crowd, and then you have so many other, like ESN there, a lot of study associations that you can register, and then, they have their events that can help you, maybe getting jobs or meeting people. So all in all, it was a very fun experience. I think in my time it was only for 1 day.
Yeah, this changed, I think, this year.
Yeah.
So also for my time it was one day.
Yeah.
And there's also an app that is called Welcome to Utrecht, and this will be updated with the new information of the orientation day closer to the date. I think they start uploading stuff in August, around there. And there you can see all the maps, because sometimes you will see, where is this? And then you could just check where, because usually it's Dutch names. So you're going to be like, what is this? So all this nice information is going to be there. So you could just download the app before. Be very handy. And we're going to go quickly again through the finances in the Netherlands. We're not saying that you need a Dutch bank account, like 100%, but it's just, it is a bit easier.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it practically, I mean, you are coming to a new country, and therefore their system works with Dutch bank accounts. So you just need to be function in their system. It's through their banking system, basically. Yeah. Why the big difference is basically because here you use a lot of Maestro and VPay.
Yeah.
They don't like Visa because they don't like credit here.
Yeah.
Coming from Argentina, this is weird because everybody has a credit card
I
there.
think they learned from the US about
Yeah.
the credit debt.
That's something that's you're like, they don't like that here. Okay, I got it. So they just do everything with their debit card here.
Yeah.
They're not gonna spend more money than they have, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like that, and it's quite an educational experience for a lot of us living here. So it's an increasingly cashless society. So you never, not even 50 cents. People don't have cash here.
Yeah.
Even if you're paying something, you go to a shop and you pay 75 cents. You just pay with card. You just tap your card on top, and it's done. Yeah. The most commonly accepted cards are Maestro and VPay, Visa, MasterCards, and other cards. American Express are not widely accepted and can almost never be used in supermarkets and everyday stores. So it's going to be a bit tricky.
Yeah, I think you can use Visa, MasterCard in restaurants, but I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. Not even in bars.
No, not even like Albert Heijn. I think you.
No, definitely not. No.
The main supermarkets here. So opening a bank account here, it's quite easy actually. As you can see there, ABN AMRO, Rabobank, and ING. These are like 3 major banks here in the Netherlands. There are way more, of course. These are like the usual banks that you would go to. It costs it's quite cheap to have a bank account as a student here. If you open a student account, it will be like around €1.40, or I don't know if it goes more than €2. It's not going to cost. Yeah. They usually need from you sort of like proof that you're a student. So they're going to have your acceptance letter and maybe your rental contract, or
I think you also need your BSN number.
Your BSN number. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. So you don't, but those are like the normal things that you require, like your identity, basically that you live here, that you arrived here, your visa, I guess, all those things. Yeah. But I think the easiest thing to do is just to go to the branches or any of these, whatever you like. You just walk in and just sit down with them. It's like, I want to open a bank account. What do I need? And they usually are very, very nice. You can see their websites. I think ABN AMRO and ING have their website in English. Rabobank, I'm not sure, but probably.
You can always use Google Translate.
You can always, yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine. So the benefits of having an account, a Dutch bank account, is you can pay everywhere, basically. Supermarkets, pop-up bars, shops. Even I think in markets, you can use your card here.
Yeah, so they have like very, very small machines. Yeah. You just put your card and that's it. Another thing that it's a very Dutch thing. Actually, we have a saying in Spanish about paying like the Dutch, that it's basically splitting the costs. Oh, yeah.
That's a very Dutch thing to do. Usually if you go out with friends, and usually when it comes to like in a restaurant, usually one of them pays because it's just easier than each and every one minding what they spend. It's a bit, and also for the poor waiter, you need to tip them really big if you're going to do that. What you do is just one of them pays, and then you get a little app in WhatsApp, and it's like a little hyperlink, and it says, hey, will you pay me €20 for the dinner we had? Yeah. And then you click there, and that immediately links to your bank account. Yeah. And that directly pays to the person. Yeah. So it's pretty direct. Easy, very direct, very easy.
Don't need to share any bank details.
No, nothing like that. Just click on that link and then pay. And then you pay.
That's it.
It's called Tiki. I think there are many different apps, but
ING has its own. Yeah. This is ABN AMRO.
ABN AMRO has Tiki. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the other person needs to have ABN AMRO. It's just that.
Yeah,
each bank has their own, but it just means that you have that bank. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Depends on that. So basically you can pay for everything. So Ideal, that you will see that logo there. There's like the pink one with the D. Yep. Ideal. That's the usual thing that you will encounter.
It's basically online pay for the Dutch bank accounts.
Yeah, for all Dutch bank accounts. Yeah. Yes, so before we talked a little bit about something called a BSN number. A BSN number is going to be like your personal
Social security number.
Yeah, sort of like a social security number. It's going to be a personal number that is going to be only for you.
Yeah.
Even if you come to the Netherlands, say you live here for a year and then you leave and then you come back, you're going to have the same BSN number because it's personal. And this BSN number you get through registering at the municipality. You have to go through a little process for this. Each municipality has their own kind of system and requirements. That building that you see there on the slides, that it's like a giant H, that's the municipality from Utrecht.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know if you can really see it there, but that's that little roof on the right side, the bottom, that's the central station.
Yeah.
So you just walk directly from the central station. You can just walk into the gemeente. That's the Dutch word for
municipality.
The municipality. And usually, for Utrecht, they have a special desk for international students. So they are ready because they know how many international students come each year. So they will have a separate desk. They will speak English. There will be no problem. If you are a non-EU student, you also need to bring your residence permit. And also another thing that it's important to notice is that each municipality will have their different requirements. We already said this. So some of them might require you to have how do you call it? Birth certificate.
Yeah.
But that's not the case for Utrecht. But usually just check wherever your housing will be. Just first check which is the jurisdiction that falls upon.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, you can always contact admissions or the housing officers to see what is it that they usually ask for, or sometimes their pages are in Dutch. What you need to do first is usually just make an appointment with them, and then you just go on a particular date, on a particular time, and you present all your stuff. It's not like you can just walk in the municipality and say, I want to register, I want this a number. Because there's a lot of people.
You always need an appointment for here.
Everything, you always make an appointment. When it comes to phone and mobile internet, well, this has, I guess, changed through the years. I mean, usually if you have a Wi-Fi connection, you just call through WhatsApp.
No one really calls, it's just WhatsApp most of the time.
But it really depends on your subscription, because it happened to me that I had a subscription from Argentina, for example, in my phone, and of course I arrived here and nothing worked. So I had to get a Dutch SIM card, and then I just top it up with some money. So it depends on if you come from another country that has, maybe you have a contract, maybe it will cover some MBs abroad. So just check that. But of course, in all university buildings, you're going to have Edu-Roam. So you're going to have Wi-Fi. In the trains, usually there's Wi-Fi. Not the fastest Wi-Fi.
Yes, very, very slow.
Because, of course, you have all people with 2 or 3 devices connected to the internet. So, it's not very fast, but it's there. There's a lot of options. If you want a contract, then, of course, you're going to need a Dutch bank account to do that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So if you want a real contract, I don't know, with Vodafone, for example, you just need to have a Dutch bank account, which makes sense. So, student life. Yay! We're almost the last part of the webinar. Hopefully, you're still here listening to what we're babbling about Utrecht. So we're almost there. There's a lot of things you can do as a student here. One of the things you can do is sports. That you can see there, that's Olympos. That's the sports center from the university. It's located here where we are. It's in the science park. So it costs around 1450 euros per month, or 130 for a full year. There's more than 70 sports available, so there's a lot to choose from. There's gym, group lessons, and dance, spinning, all these type of things. And those three options that you see at the bottom, the Fit for Free, Train More, and Basic Fit, those are all other chains of gyms that are available here.
Yeah.
And usually they're all throughout the Netherlands, and they work with students, so they have cheaper subscriptions for students.
Yeah. Depending on how long you subscribe for.
Exactly, yeah. Have you ever been to Olympus or?
No, actually, I never really did that. I just joined Fit for Free. It was closer to me, so I just did that most of the time.
Yeah, I think we all had a subscription.
Yeah.
Everyone that stays more than a year in the Netherlands probably already paid a subscription to Fit for Free. Because,
I think it's because it's so close to the science park. I think people who stay here are more inclined to go there. But like people who are towards the center or a bit inside Utrecht, they tend to go to these gyms.
Exactly. But yeah, it depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
There's also a cultural center called Parnassos. That's also from the university. They offer some discounts for students. So these are the courses that you can do. It's usually music, dance, theater, singing, photography, painting, everything. The good thing about the Parnassus Center is that it also has some rehearsal and practice spaces. So if you already practice, if you have an instrument, like if you want to play the saxophone or the trumpet, and you're not going to be able to do it in your room because it might bother the neighbors, you can always go there or start a band.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not start a band?
True, yeah.
You could use that as a rehearsal space. And there's also a bar because the cultural center Parnassus is more like towards the city center.
Yeah, it's very close.
It's very close. So it's quite nice. Usually go there. My colleague Orlinda does some singing there.
Oh, wow,
so
great.
we always go and support her singing. So it's quite nice. Another thing that it's also quite a thing is learning Dutch. If you're coming to the Netherlands as a student and you're only going to stay for 6 months or a year or even 2 years, and you know that you're going to go back to your country, unless you're like a language
nerd
enthusiast, then you don't really need to learn Dutch. That's why it's so hard, I think, to learn Dutch here, because everybody speaks excellent English, so it's very hard for you to learn. But I think in your case, if you would like to stay after your studies and you want to actually live here and work here, it will open some more doors professionally if you speak Dutch. So there are different ways. There are apps. It's for fun, like the Hoi Holland, which is literally like Hi Holland. You have Duolingo. Probably a lot of you know Duolingo by now. ING, not the bank. It's called the International Neighbor Group. They also offer some courses offered by volunteers. And also the municipality offers some courses. But there's, of course, a lot of demand. So there's a lot of waiting time for that. And if you want to do a more serious course, you can go to the Babel Language Institute. That is also a partner of the university and gives a 25% discount for students or UU students. And there you can do like the level 1, level 2, level 3 type of.
There are multiple levels in Dutch you can get.
How's your Dutch coming along?
My Dutch is okay.
Moi, you would say, like it's okay. You survive.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm learning now, so it should get better soon. Yeah.
It will. It will definitely will. This is some of like the useful shops that are very you're gonna encounter everywhere. Usually in the stations, like the big stations, you're gonna see all of these shops here. What's your favorite of all these shops, you would say?
I think my favorite would be Jumbo, because I think when I came here, that was I think one of the first supermarkets I was in. It was really fun in my opinion. They have a lot of stuff. Otherwise, but other than that, I think a lot of these have so many things that are unique to them. So you just go to special places if you feel like you can get something cheaper somewhere. You just go there.
Exactly. So you have the Jumbo, Aldi, Lidl, Albert Heijn, those are all supermarkets.
Yeah.
Albert Heijn is like the typical Dutch supermarket. You will find it everywhere.
It's a lot of places.
Like, I don't even understand how they work because they're like, I've seen 3 in the same block.
Yeah.
In the same block, you have three of these supermarkets.
Yeah, it's true.
But the thing is that they win because they're everywhere. But they're actually a bit more. They're quite more expensive than the other supermarkets. So of course, the temptation to go there is because they're everywhere.
Yeah.
But for students, usually you would go to maybe Jumbo or Aldi or Lidl.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are a bit further away from the cities, but it's a bit more cheaper for the student pocket.
Plus, there are other area-specific supermarkets that are slightly cheaper sometimes.
Exactly. Also markets and stuff like that. It's also possible. IKEA, of course, is very useful for students. They just buy tables and chairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Very cheap at the IKEA. Kruidvat and Ethos. Those are like you would say sort of like pharmacies sort of thing. They're not real pharmacies because in the Netherlands to actually get proper medication, like the strong medication, you need to go to the doctor and they will give you a receipt. And then you can go to the real like apotheek pharmacy as they call it here.
Yeah.
But at the Kruidvat and the Ethos, you can get like the more general medicine, like the ibuprofen, paracetamol, thing for
Cough
allergies,
syrups
that vitamin sort of thing.
Yeah.
Those you can buy there. And also cleaning products are
cleaning, household, everything.
Oh, I just talked about allergies and I want to sneeze now. Sorry. There's like high court, the hay fever thing.
Yeah.
So that you can also get there. Also, the Action was one of my favorite shops when I was a student here because you never know what you're gonna come out with.
Yeah,
the same with the HEMA.
Yeah, they're like smaller IKEA basically.
Everything. You can get lamps, you can get tires for your bicycle, locks, food, and also they come in bulks stuff, so it's a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
Also tools, like hammers and those type of things. You usually just go to the Action and you will get a very cheap one. So Blocker is also kind of like an IKEA thing, smaller.
It's more of a fancy one.
Yeah, it's a bit fancier in a way, but
it's also good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, we could do a different webinar about the Dutch and the food. So we're just gonna go through it quickly. These are like the, would you say, typical Dutch food?
Yeah.
Usually deep fried. Usually includes cheese, and usually includes mayonnaise.
Yeah.
All like a lot. Like what they do in the Netherlands is that they just take it to the extreme. They don't fry, they deep fry. They don't do sweet, they do super sweet.
Yeah.
So it's an experience.
Yeah.
But luckily there's a lot of also supermarkets where you can buy and do your own food.
Yeah, exactly.
What would be your favorite from these ones, do you think?
I don't know if kapsalon really is it a Dutch thing? It's more it's inspired from the Turkish.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's more like an interpretation. I like to say that they interpret food from other countries and then they do their own thing.
Yeah.
That it's neither nor. It's neither Turkish food nor Dutch. Yeah. It's kind of like a mix. Sort of thing. But they're everywhere, the kapsalon.
Yeah, it's pretty famous here.
Pretty famous.
It's pretty good. I really like that.
Especially for students. It's comfort food usually when you go out or when you come back from going out. You'll see students eating the kapsalon, which is like a mountain of food.
Yeah. Fries, meat, salad, mayo.
Yeah, everything.
Garlic sauce or whatever.
Yeah. So it's a thing. My favorite is the poffertjes. The third one coming from the left. Yeah. They're heaven. I think that's what tastes.
Pancake balls.
Oh, they're pancakes that they serve it with like butter. I think it's like what clouds taste. I think if clouds had a taste, it would be poffertjes. When they're freshly made, it's an experience. You should try those. And bread. I didn't know there were so many different types of bread until I came to the Netherlands.
Yeah. Well.
I just thought there were 2 types of bread, like the brown one and the white one. But this is just one of the pages of the supermarket page in the Albert Heijn. There's like 3 pages of different types of bread. It's because Dutch people are practical with their lunches and with their breakfast.
Bread, ham, cheese.
Yeah, that's a lot. But that's a lot. Like usually it's just a bit of cucumber, a little bit of hummus, and hummus, and that's it. So they're very practical in that sense. So that's why there's so much bread. So
exactly.
And you'll get used to that. And this is also a little bit of Dutch culture for you to prepare a bit for the Dutchness of it all. Well, of course, bicycles are a big part of Dutch culture. So you'll bike everywhere. And it's actually quite antisocial to go with the bus. Actually, you'll miss out on stuff. If like you're that guy or that girl that takes the bus and everybody bikes together. Borrel is a thing that happens a lot here in the Netherlands. Usually, I try to mix this with like a not a professional, but it has to be like a bit like maybe a study association or after work or stuff like that. You would have some drinks and a bit of bitterballen, the food that we saw, the deep fried food we saw, and usually you stand. That's a thing. They do things standing up here a lot. So they just have a drink and they just have a little bit of snacks. And that's a borrel, basically.
It's like an aperitif or aperitivo.
Something like that. And you will see that a lot. And then the next word, gezellig, it's also, you can practice your G's when you're home before you come here. The gezellig, it's sort of a feeling. You can use it for a lot of things.
There's no one translation for it.
There's no good translation for it. It's like, I think in there you can see in the slide it says pleasant, comfortable, cozy, sociable, relaxing. All of that could be said. Gezellig. You could say, how was it Borrel? Oh, gezellig. It was nice. It was a good ambient. You felt good, sort of thing. Also, Dutch people, when they say hi, they give 3 kisses on the cheek. So if you're coming to a party, it's better to come on time, so you don't have to go through the whole round of 3 kisses per person, because it's gonna take a while. Birthday congratulations, which I found weird, because when you go to a Dutch birthday, you congratulate the person that it's a birthday, and then some people will start congratulating you too because of the birthday. So for me that was weird, because I never heard that before. But
happens in India though. So.
That's the first time I heard that another culture actually does the same.
If you have like a family birthday gathering, so they do congratulate the parents.
The parents, well, you congratulate close friends, family members.
This is more elaborate.
It's like you congratulate everyone basically. If you go to a Dutch house, not student house, like someone's parents or someone's aunt that you go and you use the toilet, you will see there's a birthday calendar on the toilet, not on the toilet, but hanging. That there is just all the birthdays that are coming up. You could say it's practical.
Helps you keep track.
It keeps you get track so you don't forget, and then you can check how close you are to the person if you see that your birthday is included, and then if not, you can bring it up and do a whole thing about it. King's Day, it's a big celebration here. 27th of April. It used to be Queen's Day actually, because it's of the royal family. It was usually women here in the Netherlands. So now they have a king, so it's a King's Day, 27th of April. It's always the same date. It's always that date. So it's always going to be a huge celebration.
Everyone wears orange, the national color. The whole nation basically parties. For that whole day. There are usually markets in the street. Very cheap markets.
Very cheap.
Sell a lot for very cheap.
So it's very nice. Discussing the weather, it kind of becomes a sport here. It's kind of, I also say that it's the national sport to discuss the weather here. Usually because it rains a lot and it's not very nice. You're usually complaining about the weather, and then the sun comes out, and then they complain because it's too hot.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Dutch directness, that's certainly something that you need to get used to, especially if you come from a different culture. That we're not that direct. We usually go around in circles. We're always worried what the other person might think, feelings, stuff like that. Here they're like, no, to the point, not personal. Let's just say it. Let's just do it. It says in the second one, it says keep it real, do normal. That's also like a very Dutch thing. It's like just be normal. Like be normal in a sense, like don't make a big deal, or just do it. And don't overthink it. Don't consider too much. Another important thing, scheduling agenda with a proper actual agenda, because people here plan ahead like I've never seen in my life. Like they plan 6 to 8 months in advance. Sometimes they already have their holidays. They already know what they're going to do for like Christmas, and I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
It's a good thing to plan.
It's a very good thing to plan. So if you find a friend and you're like, hey, let's have a coffee, he'll just take his agenda or his phone and tell like, yeah, I have a spot like maybe next week on Wednesday at 5:30. So it's a thing. The scheduling is also a thing. You're gonna get an agenda. Like I promise you, the first week you're here, you're gonna get an agenda for sure. And there's a website it's called Stuff Dutch People Like, and Stuff Dutch People Cook. Like she has this was a woman from Canada that started living here. She wrote a lot of books that are quite funny, and also recipe books about Dutch recipe stuff like that.
They're very funny. Actually.
Very funny. Yeah, it's pretty nice. The weather, as we said, the weather is not very. Yeah, I mean we do have nice summers, but it's unpredictable.
That's the.
And the unpredictableness means that you could have all the weathers in one day.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things that you need to do is to get this app. It's called Bouwenradar. You just have to have it in your phone. It tells you, it's fantastic. It tells you by hour where the clouds move.
Yeah.
And if it's red, then it means it's gonna rain quite really heavily. Really bad. So you know, and you can you see people either leaving early or staying indoors a bit more, just to avoid the big showers, literally showers of rain. So another thing is that bring appropriate clothing.
Yeah.
You might not have all of this because you're not used to it.
Yeah.
So you can also get a lot of coats, and there's even pants and shorts that you can wear on top of your clothing, so you don't get super wet when you're coming there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one of your steps that you do to be Dutchified, as I call it. It's like you don't look super nice, I must say.
But you do get the last laugh in the end by not being wet.
Definitely. You give up part of your dignity for actually being, you're not completely soaked in when you're coming to class. Yes, we have we're almost done, guys. It's like 1 hour and a half. Sorry, we're talking too much. The university crash course in Dutch. These are the main things that you will learn, or hopefully you learn to say this. Doctor, I think the GP, general practitioner, is doctor or house arts. Yeah. If you see house art, it means it's a GP.
Yeah.
And usually you will see it everywhere because they're literally little houses sometimes. Yeah. Dentist, standards, cinema. I like that one. It's bioscope because it sounds like RoboCop. And RoboCop is a movie, so you'll remember. Socializing, hoi, doei. These are typical ones. So if you say good night, or again, we could talk hours about all of these things. When to say goedenavond and goedemiddag. It's all these things that you learn when you're here. I think one of the first interactions with Dutch people is going to be at the supermarket when you arrive.
Yeah.
You're going to get there and they're going to say, binnen?
Yeah.
You're like,
That
means paying by card.
Yeah.
The PIN is to use your card, your debit card.
Yeah.
And they're gonna ask, gaat het zo mee? And you're like, what? Oh, what did I do? It just means literally, will you manage? They're just asking if you want a bag, basically. If you say yes, then you're gonna pay 15 cents or 10 cents and you're gonna get a bag. And or they're gonna say like tasje erbij. Do you need a bag? Or bonnetje mee? That's the typical thing that all students learn. Do you need a receipt? They ask you if you want a receipt, which is also weird. Because in my country, you get the receipt all the time. They have to give you the receipt. And here, it's an option because you're going to throw it anyway. It's safe paper. So actually, you have to be more environmentally conscious about it. So it's quite good. And easy little words. It's like, can I have is mag ik a coffee?
You can say, I think, kan ik hebben.
Yeah, kan ik hebben. Something like that. It's or where is, like waar is, the bioscoop. You're already speaking Dutch. Congratulations. So these are all like things that you will hear probably on your first week here in the Netherlands. And almost ready. Yay! We have the checklist for you. First of all, confirm your place if you're admitted. Pay the tuition fee on time. Submit the visa application and pick up your entry visa. Make sure you have a valid health insurance. Do check this before you travel. Don't forget your passport, ID card, of course. You will you won't be able to leave the airport, so in that sense. Just have your accommodation details with you. So your landlord's phone, the number, the address. I'm a bit old school. I like to have it written down because you never know what might happen with your phone. So bring appropriate clothing. So what you do here, because the weather can change so much, you use a lot of layers here. So it's not like a huge jacket because you usually bike and then you get very hot. So the best thing to do is just wear different types of layers. So plan your trip with public transport. You can get all these apps that we mentioned. Join the orientation day. It's a great day to just meet
a lot of people. That's great.
We're also going to be there, so if you need something, we're going to be there. You have to schedule, of course, an appointment with the municipality to register here, to get your BSN number. And if you like, also you can schedule an appointment with a bank to get a bank account. I think that's about it, I think. There's also a student services. You can visit them physically at the science park. You can see there, it's UU4U, it's called. So if you need any help, you can contact them via phone, via WhatsApp, via email. On Facebook, we're also there. We have a Facebook group. So anything that you might need, you can ask us there. Also, you can follow our awesome Instagram account, so you can see all these beautiful pictures. And it's also good for check locations, check cafes, check the events that are coming up, all the news that you might see from the university. And I think that's about it.
That's it.
So well, thank you, and if you're still there, thank you, thank you. And hope to see you soon.
Hope to see you soon.